We do recruit in the fall. I would say the earlier the better. Late August, early September, if you're looking to apply for a full-time position. We just started this rotational internship, and that we recruit for in the spring. So it's a new thing we're putting together, I know the finance training program has one, the HR program has one. They're internships, which are kind of based off the rotational basis, where you're working in a group. You might have some cross-functional projects, so you're kind of getting exposure to different groups and thrown into a bunch of different projects. And with the whole idea that you get a good understanding of what it's like to be in the development program and see if it's a good fit for you, company-wise, and also the rotational aspect. So those we are recruiting for in the spring. Only a few groups do have them. It's something new that we're starting, but definitely early fall for full-time.
Depending on the training program and depending on our business need, we either do recruiting in the fall and or the spring for development programs. This year in the fall we recruited for our underwriting training program, and then now in the spring we're following up with our claims training program, and there's lots of opportunities across the country, and that's not so much a rotational program, but more about development in a specific office that you're interested in, and learning a little bit more specifically about the types of claims that you handle. So there's extensive training on systems and going through the different types of claims and things like that, but that is a little bit more specific to an office rather than a rotational program.
Most of our recruitment for all three programs is done in the September-October timeframe. We extend offers in the November timeframe for start dates of the summer of that following year. I would say though, for the actuary program, there is some instances in the springtime when recruitment opportunities do become available to add to the program, but for the most part it's predominantly done in the fall.
Maybe just a piece of advice, I would say, is being really open to different opportunities. A lot of the times, some of our rotational programs, you get to pick where you go, and sometimes it's kind of, maybe this is the best opportunity. So being really open to experiencing different opportunities, and even if you might think you know what you want to do, really being open to doing something different for a little while just to see and get that exposure. So that's pretty much what I'd say about that.
Don't be afraid to ask questions either, when you get into these programs, because there's a lot of resources out there for you to, that they can help you out with.
I think the way that our programs are structured and designed, because you have the peer support and then your mentor and the hiring manager, we also have a lot of events as you come on board to kind of create that collaboration. So I wouldn't say per se that there's anything that's a huge challenge outside of you're transitioning from the academic environment to the corporate environment. So that's regardless of the role, always kind of just an adjustment. But I would say because you have peers in all three programs that are in the same position as you are, and kind of I know for the business analysis development program, outside of normal kind of meetings that we have, they get together on a monthly basis, I think, to kind of just check in and touch base on projects and challenges. So I think because you have that peer support, it does make it a little bit easier to transition than if you were just kind of in an ad hoc role on your own, where you're kind of off on your own island and didn't have a mentor or all of these resources. It sounds like at all three programs at your disposal.
At EMC you have a program manager, a mentor, you have classes of people who've been through the program before you, so you have a huge network on day one, which a lot of people don't have. So I would say tap into that as much as you can.
I sat down with my manager, and he gave me the opportunity to sit down with other colleagues to just pretty much mirror what they do on a day-to-day basis. And then afterwards, sat down for about a month or so and went on to this 2-week training program, which was led by 2 instructors who have a lot of experience in claims. And they walk us through every aspect of the claims from the beginning to the end. So we did a lot of case studies, and then after the 2-week course, I was pretty much exposed to the claims world, and it was a little bit challenging and overwhelming at first. But there's definitely a lot of resources out there. Like, my colleagues are very helpful, and the company provides us with a post-hire training, and where we sit one-on-one with managers who are also our mentors too, because they walk you through everything that you need to know for the entire year. So it was definitely a good experience. So.
We have a ton of leadership development programs
Good.
here at EMC.
Please do.
So for HR, management is one of them. We also take marketing majors, psychology majors, people who don't even have a business background, but maybe have had a business internship or an internship in HR. We have a global services program, so a big part of our business is services, so any type of business operations major, and management, marketing, would be a fit for that as well. We also have the marketing leadership development program, marketing majors, psychology majors are also fit for that. We have an IT leadership development program, so any type of information systems degree, information technology degree would be great there. And we have the finance program, so any type of finance related major, math majors are also a fit for our finance training program as well. Basically, any major, we don't really hone in and say we need these majors. We look at the whole profile, so your whole profile, and would you be a fit based on your internships, projects that you've worked on, would you be a fit for this function? And it's very broad.
We do have development programs where we might look for a specific major, but like you had said, we really look for a combination of a lot of things. Different types of work experience, different types of activities you've been involved in. For example, for our underwriting training program, which is a little bit more analytical, we might look at finance majors, but especially at Northeastern, we might look at any majors if you've had a co-op in finance. The good thing about the claims training program is that we look really at all majors. Claims is really heavy in terms of customer service and time management, so we look for, I've seen people be a great fit if they're a sociology major and have had waitressing experience because they know how to deal with those difficult customers. So claims, it's really a very broad range, and we look at major, but we really look at that work experience and an ability to manage your time and deal with difficult situations.
Just mirroring what Jenna said on the actuary area, it's just mathematics and actuarial science would be the ideal roles there, but I think, if you had finance but you were taking the exams, it could potentially cross over, but for the most part for that program, those are the majors that we look for. For the business analysis development program, it's a little bit more flexible. Typically the ideal candidate will have majored in finance or business with a minor in computer science, or a major in computer science or management information systems. If you had that computer science major, having completed an internship, again, it's very flexible, just kind of echoing what Caroline and Jenna had said for John Hancock, in that, if you had a major that was in business, but you had worked in an internship in business analysis or project management, you wouldn't be discounted. The other thing that I do want to note for both of these programs and for investments as well is that, if you apply, even if you're not considered for the program, that doesn't mean that we just, toss your resume away and that you're not considered. We do hire entry-level candidates outside of the program as well, so we're really interested in establishing relationships with entry-level students in all of our disciplines. So to mirror what Maggie said, don't not apply because you haven't completed a co-op or you kind of are unsure about the program. It's really good just to put yourself out there and to network with as many people and organizations as you can.
For the investments program, we really look for 4 key majors: business, accounting, finance, and economics. But we do love to see, for example, if you have a minor in computer science or a minor in math, along with those, because that really makes you even much more of a stronger candidate, so that you can leverage, obviously, kind of your core background, but also your minor as well. So.
For the actuarial program, you actually graduate from that program when you obtain your FSA, which for those of you that don't know is the Fellow of the Society of Actuaries. And when you obtain that, you would get a position within the organization. The actuarial area is unique in that they have adopted a culture of movement and rotation even up to the executive level. So it's something where rotations are encouraged throughout your entire career. So there's a number of different areas that you could move into. Really, after that program's completed, it's going to be what you're passionate about. You will have a say in where you go, but these programs are all full-time. So it's not like, you know, at the end of the rotation, you're just going to kind of be in limbo and may not have an opportunity. They're full-time permanent positions. It's not like a co-op where it just ends at that end of the 3 years. Similar for the business analysis development program, at the end of that time, you would transition into a business area unit full-time. In the IS community, though, it is, again, internal movements definitely promoted. We encourage lateral movement in addition to, you know, people trying to move up to another level. So you would move into an area, and hopefully it will be in one of the areas that you've had a rotation in. So you've had, you know, that well-rounded exposure to 3 different business units, and you know, hopefully you can transition back into an area.
We look for students who are very interested in learning about our investments process and gaining exposure to the field, but don't necessarily know where they want to go. Over the course of 2 years, you've had 4 different rotations, and you had, you know, now exposure to a number of, you know, asset classes, and, you know, you've developed these relationships, and you've really had exposure to the investment process as it relates to our specific groups. So, you know, by the end of the 2 years, you know, you've determined really where your true interests lie. And I think that's really the beauty of the program, is that it's really about where you want to go. So typically what we've had when the analysts graduate is that, or complete the 2 years, is they'll go back to one of the 4 rotations that they enjoyed the most at a more senior level. So they'll go in as a senior analyst, and you know, they can jump right in and take a much deeper dive, leveraging all the knowledge that they've learned over the last 2 years, you know, in a more senior role.
So for claims, after the program, you know, based on your performance, you're promoted to kind of the next level. And over time, there's opportunities to potentially handle more complex, different types of claims, as well as look at other functions across the company. Sometimes with our underwriting training program, we look at past hires who have been involved in claims. So there is an opportunity to kind of jump over to a different type of function, because in insurance, it's really important to understand kind of all of the different aspects of it. So not just claim handling, but how do we price a policy, and how do we talk to agents and brokers, and you get kind of that all of that exposure. For our underwriting training program, we hire all across the country, and you're hired into a specific location, but the training is in another location. But after the 6-month training program, you kind of know where you're going to be. And again, there's other opportunities after you have exposure to that, and really decide if that's the place that you want to be. In our human resources development program, it's a little different. Most of those people do start in our Boston office. There's a bunch of different rotations throughout 2 years, and then you get to choose where you want to apply to. So it could be any of the different locations across the country.
Every program, once you graduate, you do move a level up, so it is a promotion. And it's based on your preference, so if you've really loved a rotation, you want to go back there, you can, based on business need and preference. So there is, most of the time you do end up where you want to go, but business need is there, and sometimes there's new opportunities. You might not have rotated through that group, but you want to get into another role. Some people like the different aspects. They can't see staying in one role after being in a rotational program, so they choose something maybe that they haven't done before, or move cross-functionally as well.